Hang on a second before you keep scrolling. Something about that title probably caught you off guard a little. Positioned for power. Not blessed soon. Not breakthrough coming. Something a little different. Maybe that's exactly why you stopped. You're tired of hearing the same 5 phrases recycled in every spiritual video, and some part of you wanted something that actually addressed what you're feeling instead of just papering over it. So let's start honestly. Take a breath, a real one, not a performative one. In, out, let your jaw unclench if it's been tight. You can have a few minutes here. I want to talk about delay. Not in some abstract, theoretical way, actual delay. The kind you're probably living in right now. The plan that hasn't moved. The answer that hasn't come. The thing you prayed about months ago, maybe years ago, that's still sitting exactly where it was when you first asked. Delay is a strange kind of pain because it doesn't look like pain from the outside. Nobody brings you soup for delay. Nobody checks in on you because your life hasn't visibly fallen apart. It's just stalled, frozen in a holding pattern that nobody else can really see except you, every single day, watching the same nothing happen over and over. Maybe you've started to wonder if you missed something, if there was a sign you were supposed to catch and didn't, some door you were supposed to walk through and somehow walked past without noticing. That's a particular kind of anxiety, not just, why hasn't this happened, but, did I mess up the timing somehow? Is this my fault? I want to say something here plainly. Probably not. Most delay isn't a punishment for missing a cue. It's not evidence you failed some invisible test. Sometimes, more often than you'd think, delay is actually positioning, not nothing happening. Something happening that you can't see yet, because positioning rarely looks like progress from where you're standing inside it. Here's what I mean by that word. Positioned. Think about an army before a battle, or a team before a big game, or honestly just someone getting ready for a hard conversation they've been dreading. There's a stretch of time before the actual event where nothing visible happens. No fighting yet, no game yet, no conversation yet. But underneath that visible stillness, everything is being arranged. Strength is being built. Strategy is being set. Position is being taken. If you only watched the positioning phase without knowing what came after, you'd think nothing was happening at all. You'd think it was wasted time, but it's not wasted, it's preparation, dressed up to look like delay. I think a lot of what you've been calling delay might actually be this. Positioning. Quiet. Invisible. Frustratingly slow, but not nothing. Something underneath the surface that you can't watch happening in real time. The same way you can't watch a seed crack open underground. That doesn't erase how hard the waiting has been. I'm not going to tell you delay doesn't hurt just because there's a purpose hiding inside it. Both things can be true at once. This has genuinely been hard, and something might genuinely be forming underneath it. You don't have to pick one explanation and throw out the other. There's a moment in Joseph's story that I think captures this exact tension better than almost anything else in Scripture. He has a dream, early on, that suggests something significant is coming for him. Then his life falls apart in almost every visible way for the next 13 years. Sold by his own brothers. Falsely accused. Forgotten in a prison cell. If you stop the story there, at year 10 or 11, it would look like the dream was simply wrong. Like whatever was promised had quietly died somewhere along the way. But it hadn't died. It was being positioned. Every single thing that looked like derailment, Egypt, the false accusation, the prison was actually assembling the exact set of experiences and relationships he'd need for what came next. He couldn't see that while he was living it. Nobody can see positioning while they're inside it. That's sort of the nature of the thing. I want you to sit with that timeline for a second. 13 years, not 13 days, not 13 weeks, years. If you've been waiting on something for what feels like an unreasonably long time, Joseph's story doesn't promise you 13 years won't happen to you too. It just tells you that long delay isn't automatically proof that nothing's being built underneath it. Here's something worth noticing about how positioning actually works. Based on stories like his, it almost never happens through one big obvious event. It happens through a sequence of smaller things that don't look connected at the time. Being sold gets him to Egypt. Egypt gets him into a household where he learns administration. The false accusation gets him into prison, where he meets someone who later remembers him to Pharaoh. None of those individual events look like progress. Stacked together, they're the entire path. If you tried to map your own life right now, the delays, the setbacks, the doors that didn't open the way you wanted, I wonder what you'd find if you looked at them as potential positioning instead of just pain. Not to minimize the pain, just to ask whether some of what felt like loss might actually be assembly, piece by piece, towards something you can't see the shape of yet. I want to be careful here, because I don't want to turn every hard thing in your life into a tidy lesson with a bow on top. Some hardship really is just hardship. Some loss doesn't come with a silver lining attached. I'm not telling you every single delay you've experienced was secretly orchestrated for your benefit. I don't actually know that. And neither does anyone who tells you that with total confidence. What I am saying is that the presence of delay doesn't automatically mean the absence of purpose. Both can be sitting in the same room at once. You may be sensing something underneath all this waiting, even if you don't have words for it yet. A feeling that you're being shaped instead of just stalled. I'm not promising you a specific date when this resolves. Nobody honestly can promise that, and I'd be lying to you if I pretended otherwise. But if you felt that quiet sense at all, even just a little, I don't think it showed up randomly. Stay with this a bit longer, because the next part might be the piece your spirit's actually been waiting for, more than anything we've covered so far. Let's talk about what power might actually mean in the context of this title, because I think it's easy to hear that word and picture something flashy, sudden authority, sudden influence, sudden control over circumstances that used to control you. Sometimes power does look like that, but more often, in the way Scripture tends to describe it, power looks like capacity. The capacity to handle something you couldn't have handled before. The capacity to lead, to endure, to carry weight that would have crushed an earlier version of you. Moses is maybe the clearest example of this kind of slow positioning toward capacity. Before he ever led anyone anywhere, he spent 40 years in the wilderness, tending sheep, doing work that had absolutely nothing to do with leading a nation out of slavery. If you told him at year 15 of that stretch that he was being prepared for something enormous, he probably wouldn't have believed you. It looked like nothing. It looked like a wasted life. A man with real potential burning away his best years on something completely beneath what he once imagined for himself. But that wilderness taught him the terrain he'd later cross with an entire nation behind him. It taught him patience with the difficult, complaining people, because sheep are difficult in their own quiet way. It taught him how to be alone with God for long stretches without an audience, which turned out to matter enormously once he actually had an audience. None of that capacity showed up overnight. It was built slowly, in a stretch of time that looked like the opposite of progress. If you've been in your own version of that wilderness work that feels beneath what you hoped for, a season that looks like delay instead of growth, I think it's worth asking what capacity might be quietly building in you right now, even if you can't name it yet. Patience you didn't have 5 years ago. The ability to sit with uncertainty without falling apart. A kind of resilience that wasn't there the last time things got hard, because this current hard thing has been slowly building it. I don't want to oversell this. Not every hard season produces growth automatically. Some people go through difficulty and come out more bitter, not more capable. Positioning isn't guaranteed just because time is passing, but it is possible. And if you've been showing up honestly through your own version of delay, not perfectly, just honestly, there's a real chance something is being built in you, whether you can feel it happening or not. There's a difference between power that's given to someone too early and power that's actually been positioned for. Power given too early, before the capacity to hold it exists, tends to break the person holding it, or at least waste a huge portion of what it could have been. Power that arrives after real positioning tends to get held differently, more carefully, more wisely, with less danger of the person being changed for the worse by what they're now carrying. If your breakthrough has felt slow, maybe, and I want to say this gently, without turning it into a guilt trip, maybe part of what's been happening is exactly this kind of positioning. Not punishment for being too slow yourself, just the actual time it takes to build the capacity that whatever's coming will require. Let me say a few things plainly, because I think they need to be stated directly instead of just implied. You are not late. There's no clock running against you that you're somehow failing to beat. The timeline you've imagined for your own life, the one where this should have happened by now, was never actually guaranteed in the first place. Comparing where you are to where you thought you'd be by this point isn't a fair measurement, because that imagined timeline was a guess, not a promise. You are not wasting this season even if it feels like nothing is happening. Moses didn't know the wilderness was preparation while he was living it. Joseph didn't know the prison was part of the path while he was sitting in it. Not knowing something is true while you're inside it doesn't make it untrue. You are not disqualified by how long this has taken. Long positioning doesn't mean you weren't ready or that you're somehow less chosen than someone whose path moved faster. Different positions require different amounts of preparation. Yours might simply require more time, not because something's wrong with you, but because of what you're actually being prepared for. Let me give you something practical here, not just encouragement that disappears the moment this video ends. Stop measuring this season only by what hasn't happened yet. Ask instead, what has changed in you? Are you more patient than you were a year ago? More honest with yourself? Better at sitting with uncertainty without spiraling? Those are real markers of positioning, even when the external circumstances haven't visibly shifted. Keep doing the small, unglamorous work in front of you. Positioning rarely gets built through grand gestures. It gets built through showing up, day after day, to whatever's actually in front of you, even when it feels disconnected from whatever you're hoping for eventually. Watch your character during this stretch. Long delay tempts people toward bitterness, toward shortcuts, toward giving up on doing things honestly because honesty hasn't produced results yet. Protecting your integrity through the wait is part of what makes whatever finally arrives actually worth having. Don't compare your positioning timeline to anyone else's. Their wilderness isn't yours. Their preparation looked different because they're being prepared for something different. Measuring your pace against theirs was never an accurate way to understand your own path. And rest when you need rest. Positioning isn't the same as constant striving. There's room in this season for actual rest, for slowing down, for not treating every single day like it has to produce visible progress. There will be days where none of this lands the way it's meant to. Days where the weight just feels heavy, with no philosophical reframe making it lighter. I'm not going to pretend those days don't happen, because that would make this whole message a little dishonest. On those days, you don't have to feel hopeful. You're allowed to just get through them, doing the bare minimum, going to sleep without having figured anything out. That counts. Survival on the hard days is most of what faith actually looks like, not constant declarations of victory, just getting back up the next morning. There's a moment in David's story that fits here. Long before anyone thought he mattered, he's left out of the room entirely. Samuel comes looking for someone significant, and David's own family doesn't even call him in from the field at first. Nobody in that room thought the youngest one was worth considering for anything important. What strikes me about that scene is how invisible his actual positioning was to everyone watching, including probably David himself. Years of shepherding, of facing real danger alone with nothing but a sling and persistence. Looked like nothing. It looked like a kid stuck with an unglamorous job while everyone else got considered first. Nobody in that room could see what all those years had actually built in him. If you felt overlooked, passed by, left out of rooms where things got decided without you, that doesn't disqualify you from whatever's actually being positioned. It might just mean you're early in your own version of this exact story, the part where nobody, maybe not even you, has any idea what's quietly being assembled underneath the surface. I want to say something about comparison here, because it tends to creep into long seasons of delay faster than almost anything else. It's easy to watch someone else's life move forward, their job, their relationship, their visible progress, while yours stays still, and feel a sting that's hard to admit out loud. That sting is human, but you're not actually seeing their full positioning either. You're seeing the parts that became visible. You're not seeing what they went through to get there. The years that looked like nothing from the outside. The doubts they had that never made it onto whatever platform you're comparing yourself against. Let your own timeline be your own timeline. not a copy of someone else's pace, not a competition against their visible progress. Whatever's being positioned in you is being positioned specifically for you, shaped by your particular delays, your particular waiting, your particular capacity that's being built right now in ways you can't fully track yet. There's something about long delay that doesn't get talked about much, and I want to name it plainly because I think you've felt it without anyone saying it out loud for you. Nobody tells you how exhausting hope itself becomes after enough time passes. Hoping isn't free. It costs something emotionally to keep believing something's coming when nothing visible confirms it. After months, sometimes years, that cost adds up, and you start to wonder if it'd just be easier to stop hoping altogether, just to save the energy. Nobody tells you that you can grieve a timeline even while still believing the outcome is coming. You can fully believe something good is ahead and still feel genuine loss over the years it's taken to get there, years you can't get back, versions of plans you had to let go of. A younger version of yourself who expected this to be resolved by now. That grief is real, even alongside real hope. And nobody tells you that waiting changes how you see yourself, not just how you see your circumstances. Long enough delay can quietly convince you that you're someone things don't happen for, even while logically you know that's not necessarily true. That belief creeps in slowly, almost without you noticing, until one day you catch yourself assuming the worst before you've even tried. If any of that sounds familiar, it's not a sign something's wrong with you. It's a sign you've been carrying something real for a long time, without much outside acknowledgement of how heavy that actually is. There's a woman named Hannah whose story speaks into this more honestly than most. She wanted something deeply for years and didn't receive it on any timeline that made sense to her. She's described praying with such raw intensity that someone nearby assumed something was actually wrong with her, simply because he'd never seen someone pray that openly, that desperately. What gets me about her story is that her waiting wasn't quiet or composed. She wept, she struggled. She kept showing up year after year to ask for the same thing she hadn't yet received. That's not the serene, patient version of faith we sometimes picture. It's a tired, repetitive, occasionally desperate version, and it's still faith, maybe even more genuinely than the calm version, because it cost her something real to keep going. When her answer finally came, it came on its own timing, not the one she would have chosen. That detail matters, because an answer arriving later than hoped doesn't mean it isn't real, or that it isn't coming. It might just mean it's still being positioned, on a clock that doesn't match your impatience, but isn't meaningless either. If you're tired of asking for the same thing, tired of hoping for something that hasn't shifted in a long time, you're allowed to be tired. That tiredness doesn't disqualify your hope from mattering. It just means you're a real person who's been carrying something real for a long time and hasn't quit yet, even on the days quitting would have felt easier. I want to come back to the actual title of this message, because I don't think it's been fully unpacked yet. The idea that delay is positioning for power. Power, in this sense, isn't only about influence over circumstances outside you. It's also about something internal, the capacity to hold what's eventually given without it ruining you. Plenty of people receive power, opportunity, breakthrough, and it ends up costing them more than it gives, because they weren't actually positioned for it yet. The capacity wasn't there, the character wasn't ready. The thing that arrived too early ended up doing damage instead of good. That's part of why delay, frustrating as it is, sometimes serves a real purpose. Not always. Not every delay is secretly perfect. But sometimes the wait you're in right now is less about punishing you and more about protecting whatever's coming from arriving before you're actually ready to carry it well. Think about what it would mean to receive significant power right now, today, exactly as you are, with whatever wounds and impatience and unresolved character issues you're currently carrying. Would you hold it well? Some of us, if we're honest, would say probably not yet. That's not a condemnation. It's just an honest acknowledgement that capacity takes time to build, and most of us are still in the middle of building it. If your breakthrough has felt slow, consider gently, without turning this into self-blame, that the slowness might be protecting you from receiving something you're not fully positioned to hold yet. rather than punishing you for some failure. That's a hard thing to sit with because it asks you to trust a process you can't see the inside of. But it's also, I think, a more honest way to understand delay than either extreme, either I did something wrong or this is just senseless suffering. You are not behind some invisible schedule that everyone else is keeping perfectly. There's no universal timeline you're failing to match. Your specific positioning has its own pace, built around what you specifically need to be ready for, not what looks impressive on someone else's timeline. You are not too far behind for this to still happen. No amount of delay, however long it's stretched, places you outside the reach of whatever's actually being prepared. Long positioning periods have produced enormous outcomes before, more times than anyone could count, for people who felt just as stuck as you might feel right now. You are being built right now, in the middle of the waiting, not despite it. There's a real difference between time that breaks a person and time that forms one, even though both can feel identical from the inside while you're living through them. The fact that you're still here, still trying, still believing even faintly that something's coming, that's not naivety. That's evidence something real is actually happening underneath the stillness. There's a man named Abraham whose entire story revolves around waiting on a promise that took decades longer than he expected. Not weeks, decades. He got older. His circumstances, by any reasonable measure, made the promise look less likely with each passing year, not more. And yet, looking back, the waiting wasn't wasted time. It was the actual substance of the story, not a delay before the real thing started. I think about his timeline whenever someone expects their own season to resolve on a tight, predictable schedule. Abraham didn't get a calendar with a circled date on it. He got a promise, and then decades of ordinary life in between detours, doubts, moments he handled badly, moments he handled with real trust. All of it shaped him into someone capable of carrying what eventually arrived. If your wait has stretched longer than you expected when this season first began, you're in good company across the whole of Scripture. Delay isn't denial. A promise taking a long time to unfold isn't the same as a promise being canceled. I want to offer something practical here too, because encouragement without anything actionable tends to fade fast. How do you actually tell the difference between positioning and just plain stagnation? Because not every long wait is secretly productive. Sometimes a person really is stuck, not being prepared for anything, just stalled by avoidance or fear or habits that aren't serving them. A few honest questions might help sort that out. Are you still showing up to the parts of your life that are actually yours to handle, even while waiting on the bigger thing? Positioning usually still involves effort somewhere, relationships you're tending, skills you're building, character you're working on, even while the big external thing stays frozen. Stagnation, on the other hand, often looks like disengagement everywhere, not just in the one area that's stuck. Are you learning anything, even slowly? Positioning tends to come with some kind of growth, even quiet growth that's hard to point to directly. If you genuinely can't identify anything that's shifted in you over this wait, not externally, just internally, that might be worth examining honestly, not with shame, just with honesty. And are you avoiding something specific that's actually within your control? Sometimes what looks like waiting on God is actually waiting on yourself, putting off a decision, a conversation, a change that's genuinely yours to make, and calling it faith instead of calling it avoidance. That's worth being honest with yourself about, gently, without turning it into self-punishment. None of this is meant to make you doubt your own situation or feel like you have to prove your weight is the productive kind. Most of the time, when someone's genuinely showing up and trying, even imperfectly, that's enough evidence that something real is happening. I just don't want to hand you a message that lets you off the hook entirely if there's something within your control that you've actually been avoiding. There's also something worth saying about the specific fear that can creep in during long positioning, the fear that maybe this time you're the exception. Maybe everyone else's story resolves and yours just doesn't. I understand that fear, and I'm not going to pretend it's irrational, because genuinely, some stories in life don't resolve the way people hope. I won't promise you guaranteed certainty here, because I can't actually offer that honestly. What I can say is that the fear of being the exception is incredibly common, almost universal among people in a long wait, and its presence doesn't actually predict the outcome. Nearly everyone who eventually saw their wait resolve also spent time afraid they'd be the exception who didn't. That fear visiting you isn't a special sign pointing toward a worse outcome. It's just what long waiting tends to produce in almost anyone who goes through it honestly. There's a man named Gideon whose story includes a detail I find oddly comforting when it comes to long, uncertain waits. Before he moved forward with anything significant, he asked for a sign. Then, even after getting it, he asked for another one, just to be sure. He wasn't operating from total confidence. He was operating from small, repeated confirmations, each one giving him just enough to take the next step, without ever handing him the full picture all at once. I think that's closer to how positioning usually actually works than the version where someone gets one dramatic and undeniable sign, and then proceeds with total certainty forever after. Most people in a long wait get small confirmations along the way, a conversation that lands differently than expected, an unexpected door cracking slightly open, a feeling of peace on an otherwise ordinary day, rather than one enormous, unmistakable moment that resolves all doubt permanently. If you've been waiting for one big sign to finally believe this season is moving, it might help to lower that bar slightly and start noticing the small ones instead. They tend to be quieter than people expect, easy to miss if you're only watching for something dramatic. I want to say something honest about disappointment here too, because long positioning periods are full of false starts, moments that looked like the breakthrough that got your hope up and then fizzled out into nothing. That's genuinely discouraging, and I don't want to minimize how much it can hurt to feel hope rise and then deflate more than once over a long stretch of waiting. But false starts aren't necessarily evidence that nothing real is happening. Sometimes they're actually part of the positioning itself, each one teaching you something, even if it's just teaching you what doesn't fit, narrowing down what you're actually being prepared for by process of elimination. That doesn't make the disappointment painless. It just means the disappointment isn't necessarily proof you're on the wrong path. If you've had multiple false starts already, multiple moments where you thought this was finally it and then it wasn't, you're allowed to feel cautious about hoping again. That caution makes sense, but try not to let it fully close the door on hoping altogether, because the next one might actually be it, even though you have no way of confirming that in advance. There's a particular kind of loneliness that comes with long positioning too, one that's worth naming honestly. People around you might not understand why you're still waiting, still hoping, still not just moving on to something easier. They mean well, usually, but their confusion can make you feel like maybe you're the unreasonable one for continuing to hold on. You're not required to explain your wait to people who haven't lived inside it. You're allowed to keep believing what you believe, even when it doesn't make complete sense to everyone watching from outside it. If something in this has actually reached you, here's a small thing you could do. If you're choosing today to believe that what's felt like delay might actually be positioning, that you haven't been forgotten in this stretch of waiting, type Amen in the comments below. Not because the word changes anything on its own, but because saying something out loud has a way of making it feel a little more real, a little more yours. And if this brought you even a small measure of peace, leave a like on this video. Someone else out there is in their own long wait right now, feeling just as stuck as you might have felt before clicking on this. A like or a share is sometimes the thing that puts this in front of them exactly when they need it. If you know someone who's been quietly waiting on something for a long time, tired, maybe a little discouraged, not talking about it much, share this with them, just quietly, the way you'd pass along anything that helped you. And if messages like this matter to you, consider subscribing for more honest, grounded reminders. Not because subscribing speeds anything up, but because having a steady source of encouragement during a long wait genuinely helps on the days it's hard to find that anywhere else. Before we close, a few final things. Plainly, you have not been forgotten in this delay, even on the days it felt exactly like being forgotten. What's felt like nothing happening might actually be everything happening, just underground, where you can't watch it directly. That doesn't make the waiting painless. It just means the pain and the purpose might be sitting in the same room together the whole time. Whatever you've been carrying through this weight, the tiredness, the quiet grief over time you can't get back, the wondering if this is ever going to shift, set some of it down tonight. Just for tonight. Let tonight be the night you rest instead of replay every disappointment. Let it be the night you remember that delay and abandonment are not the same word, even when they feel identical from the inside. There's a version of your life ahead that you genuinely cannot picture right now, and that's okay. You were never meant to see the whole process from where you're standing. You were only ever meant to keep showing up to today. Somewhere ahead, there's a moment where the positioning becomes visible, not all at once necessarily, but visible enough that you finally understand some of what this wait was actually for. You probably won't understand all of it. Some of it might never make complete sense, even looking back. But some of it will. And that some might be enough. You have not been forgotten. Say that to yourself slowly, the way you'd say something you actually wanted to believe. Not on the longest night of this wait. Not on the morning you almost gave up hoping. You weren't forgotten in any of it. You are not weak for how hard this has been. Long delay tests something in a person that short hardship never touches. You've carried this for longer than you wanted to, and you're still here, still hoping, even faintly. That's not naivety. That's quiet strength that rarely gets named out loud. You are being positioned, even now, for whatever capacity this season has actually been building in you. When it finally arrives, you'll likely hold it with a wisdom and care that someone who skipped this wait simply wouldn't have. Your story is not finished. Whatever this chapter has been, however long it's run, it's still just a chapter. What's ahead of you hasn't stopped being prepared just because it hasn't arrived yet. So breathe, one more time. You've made it through every day of this wait so far. That's not nothing. If this message has spoken to where you are right now, type Amen in the comments below. And take the next step, whatever that looks like for you today. You have not been forgotten. You are only ever being positioned.